You're watching Rogers TV, Grey County.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Community Close-Up. I'm your host, Sharen Skelly, and our guest today is Richard Ives-Sitoski. And Richard is our poet laureate. He's been our poet laureate for how many years, Richard?
Since 2019.
And when is your term up as poet laureate?
Oh, that comes to an end September, October of 2023. So just in a few months.
Oh, that'll be a sad day because we've really enjoyed having you as poet laureate. It's been wonderful. You've done a lot of great things, even though it's been an unusual term. I mean, we didn't expect when you were, what are you, elected, really? Appointed, elected, that there'd be an outbreak of COVID-19 and we'd be in isolation, there'd be a pandemic, you wouldn't be able to go out and do all the great things that you have done, but not for a really long period of time.
No, that's right. And I had to pivot. So I took advantage of the fact that I was, in enforced isolation based on, our COVID protocols. And I just did a lot of work from behind the scenes. So I wasn't able to organize really any live events. So what I did instead was I did what everybody did, was I moved to Zoom and I conducted a lot of readings with invited feature performers, and there would always be an open mic component at the end of that, and that kept going for as long as people were really interested in Zoom. And of course, now we're all pretty much zoomed out. So I've put those to an end, and there'll be an occasional live reading. And I've got one coming up on May 18th. Jennifer Frankham, who's a local poet, she's from Bruce County. She's in the Saugeen Shores area. And so she'll be coming to the library on June 18th, which I think is a Thursday. So that around 7:00. And we can, if you look on the library website closer to the day, you'll get some information on that too.
Now, when you say that you had these Zoom, open mics, or we'll call them, there was a really positive side to that, though. You got to have some really great invitees that you wouldn't have been able to have had you not been doing them by Zoom.
That's true. And I'll tell you, it did work out in our favor. There were a lot of A-listers, some major poets who had sort of come through our thing. And you're right. These are people that it would be very difficult to arrange for them to come all the way to Owen Sound just for an evening's reading. The coordination involved would have been a little bit more than I was capable of doing at the time. So what we're doing now is, now that we are moving into more live events, I'm getting local poets to do their thing. And we just last month we hosted Jillian Morris, who's the Collingwood Poet Laureate. We hosted her at the Tom Thompsons, so that was good. And of course, that sets the stage for the poetry festival that we've got coming up in September and in October, which is the Words Aloud Festival. And that's the first time that's been held since 2019.
Yes. So can you tell our viewers about Words Aloud if they're not familiar with what Words Aloud is?
Oh, great. Well, now that you mention it, yes, I'm very happy to talk about it. It's one of Ontario's regional poetry festivals, one of its finest small regional poetry festivals. We managed to get poets from all around the country to come in, and for 3 days of poetry readings. We have two main stage events. One is going to be in Owen Sound at the, well, they're both in Owen Sound. One is going to be at the library, and the other one on the Sunday, October 22nd, is going to be at the Tom Thompson. So we've got the Tom Thompson involved with it. And I'll start by telling you the dates. So we have an event on September 9th. In Durham at the Durham Art Gallery. And there we're bringing in three of Canada's finest visual poets. So these are poets who've got a strong visual component to their works. And they're multimedia. They're going to be bringing films with them and videos and sound works that they're going to be doing. So we've got Daniel Scott Tisdall, Gary Barwin, and Kevin Heslop. So they're going to be doing that in Durham on September 9th. And then on October 20th, we have the main festival, and that starts off with an event in Meaford at the Craig Gallery, and we're going to be hosting Janice Jolie, and that's going to be a fantastic event. That's going to be our opener, and we're going to be at that event. We're going to be hosting an open mic, which is something that we hardly ever do, and I think that's something that I'd like to keep as part of the festival. And we're doing a little tribute to Bob Menzies, who's a local impresario who's been responsible for the coffee house circuit in this town for such a long time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And then on the Saturday, we start off with workshops by Dan Lockhart and Penn Camp. And then the Saturday evening, we got Sarah Lewis, who is the former poet laureate of Peterborough. We've got Brandon Wint, who is one of our premier spoken word artists, and Stuart Ross, who's an indie publishing legend. And then the Sunday main stage, we're going to have a tribute to Barry Dempster, who's one of our greatest, and he's now local. He's moved to Owen Sound. We're going to have Penn Camp, and we're going to have Kim Fauner and Dan Lockhart are going to be there. So it's just going to be absolutely wonderful. Our website is wordsaloud.ca, and it doesn't have the information up yet. We're still working on that. Yeah, on updating the website. But when the website gets updated, we're going to let everybody know about that. We've got a mailing list. We're going to send all that information out, and then people will be able to keep track of all the wonderful stuff that we're doing.
And you can post it on the Rogers TV community happenings portion of the Rogers TV website.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, no, I think that would get us a lot of views. Yeah, for
there's
sure.
a place you can post that too. It sounds great. So do you have to pay to go to this?
Yeah, the thing about Words Aloud is that we do rely on gate receipts to help fund our operations. But the advantage is that we try to keep the tickets as low as we possibly can. And for the Friday event in Meaford, those tickets will be subsidized so that people of low income can at least have the ability to go there. And for all the other events that we have, there is a portion that we've set aside of comped tickets for members of low-income communities, and these will be available at Mawickwidon, at Safe and Sound, at United Way, at places like that. So if people want to take it at the CMHA, people want to take advantage of those tickets, there'll always be a few comped tickets for people there too.
You know, that's great, because often people want to go. They enjoy culture too.
Absolutely.
You know, they want to embrace it, and they can't afford it. You know, sounds like minimal to most people is not minimal to them.
That's absolutely correct. And what we try to do. Oh, no, and it's true. And what we try to do is we make a point of accessibility in our operations.
Accessibility is more than just physical accessibility.
Exactly. It's financial accessibility. That's right.
Yeah. Thank you very much for thinking of that, Richard. Now, how do you fund this festival, though? Because do you get a grant? How do you do that? Does the government help you with it? Because it costs money to put on anything these days, and the costs are going up and up and up.
That's true. And there now we do get a certain amount of private donations and private corporate sponsorships. We have a certain amount of that. Gate receipts come to a little bit of it, but the bulk of our funding comes from either community groups like the Community Foundation or the Leffler Foundation, so foundation funding, and the Ontario Arts Council and the Canada Council and various other organizations like that. So that's basically every festival really relies. They get the bulk of their funding from the government.
No banks or anything are going, hey.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's not like us. I won't say the specific sport, but it's not like sports.
Right. No, exactly.
Sorry for anyone that's offended, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, so you've been the poet laureate. For anyone that doesn't know what a poet laureate is, what is a poet laureate?
Well, and that's a great question. And it's a question that I'm often asked. And when I answer that question, I say two things. I am the community's ambassador to poetry. So it's my job to write poems about local historical events, about things that are taking place in our community, in our town right now, what's going on. And I'm also the poetry's ambassador to the community. So my other aspect of the job is to bring poetry to the people, and to people who might not normally encounter it. So it goes in both directions that way.
Right. So you have a website, and if you go onto Richard's website, you just have to just put in Richard Ives-Sitoski, and you'll come up. Just go to his website and you'll see all his works. And you can also see some of his live performances of his poetry. But Richard has been very prolific in having his books and works published. All of his work's on there, I believe. I have some of his work here. I have more of it, but I couldn't find it. I have all. So here's one of his works. Now, this is one of his works that it's a group effort. It's a combination of a lot of people, and this is poetry or poems in response to peril, and it's about the war in Ukraine and the response to that. But it's response to peril, so it's not necessarily just Ukraine if you read it. But and it was a fundraiser, really. But more than that, it's a good book if you buy it. But tell us a little bit about this one. I love this one.
Yeah, thanks. And by the way, it's still available. We are using it as a fundraiser to raise funds for the PEN organization, PEN, Poets, Essayists, and Novelists,
Yes.
PEN Ukraine. And what they're going to be doing is...
can you tell people what PEN is? Because some people might not know.
Well, yeah, exactly. So PEN, the PEN organization, it's an international organization, and it deals principally with writers who are prisoners of conscience in countries. So it's very similar to Amnesty International. It stands out for freedom of expression and freedom of the press in countries, and that can of course apply even to democracies, because there's Lord knows there are things which are impinging upon freedom of expression and the press here as well. And so it deals mostly with that, and our efforts through raising money through the anthology will be devoted to their work on assisting Ukrainian cultural workers who have been displaced on account of the war. Right. And we've already raised about $3,000.
Wow.
So yeah.
Great. And then there's this book that I have.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a chapbook, and a chapbook is just a short collection of poems, usually anywhere from about 15 to 50 pages, usually about half the size of a regular book. And that one there, publication came as part of the prize for winning a poetry contest held in Ottawa. And so I went to the Ottawa International's Writers Festival, and I was given my award there, and my first copies of How to Be Human. And for that, I've got a few copies of it, so if you want to get a hold of that, you can just get a hold of me. And
go on the website, send them an email.
On the website.
We've also have let's see, how to be human. No Sleep Till Eden, Downtown Oldies FM Station Blues. That one's with a CD, right? That one has the CD, I think.
No, there was a CD called
Word Salad.
Word Salad. That's pretty old technology, but it's still available. I'm giving those away for free to anybody who still has a CD player.
Well, I was looking for that one. I have it here somewhere. Maybe it's in with my CDs. That's probably where it is. You have Brownfield's poems, No Sleep Till Eden. So you've got just all these great books of poetry. So people can check out all of that stuff, but you've got Words Aloud coming up. You've also got another event coming up. Tell us about that.
Oh yes. There's some graphics that I've sent to Rogers.
I thought you were going to say it's very graphic.
It's very graphic. Yes, actually. And it's a one-person show that's headed towards the Fringe festivals coming up this summer. It's already been accepted at the Kingston Fringe Festival. We're going to be doing it at the Collingwood Porchside Festival this summer, and I'm trying to get it into the Clearview Township Small Halls Festival. So I'm trying to get it in there. But the premiere of this show, and it's called Butterfly Tongue, and it's based on a true story. And it's of a particular experience that I had with an individual. And I'm not going to say very much more than that, other than it is tragic.
Wasn't me.
No, definitely no, nothing to worry about there. But it is a tragic story. But that's got a certain degree of beauty to it. So it's not going to bum you out or anything like that. That's the thing about it.
All right.
And it's set in the backdrop of depression. So I fictionalized and I said it, not the depression, but the prohibition. In Owen Sound. Yeah, 1972. 1972, if you remember well. That's when prohibition was repealed in Owen Sound. So it takes place in the course of one night as our protagonist revisits all the places that he used to love to go to, such as the Selden House, which is now the pub, or the coach, Vern's Donut Villa, which of course is no longer here, but it's now Casero's.
Donut Villa. Oh.
Yeah, Vern's Donut Villa, and refers to the Scopus restaurant and winding up. And the story winds up in the cemetery at Greenwood Cemetery in the Potter's Field. So there's a little bit of everything in there.
Right.
And that's coming up at the Grey Roots Museum and Archives Auditorium on June 8th and on June 10th. June 8th is a Thursday. June 10th will be a Saturday. And so the June 8th show is at 7 p.m. and the June 10th show is at 2 o'clock.
And it's a one-person show.
And it's a one-person show, but it's more than a one-person show because it features my original artwork, and it also features my original songs that I wrote with my wife, Mary Little, and as part of our indie folk duo, Deep Blue Honey. And these songs are going to be played by Dave Hawkins. And as an added treat, and this is really special, 3 of the songs are going to involve a choir, a 10-person choir, which is being directed by Louise Jarvis of O Sing. She looks after O Sing and a bunch of other. She's involved with a lot of other choral projects in the area. And Louise Jarvis did choral arrangements of 3 of the songs. And let me tell you, she did yeoman service on this. This was the most incredible. Like, I'm looking at her charts that she prepared for these songs. They're so intricate. There's so many moving parts to these things. I can't believe the work that she put into this. And the choir, we're doing rehearsals every Thursday. It is fantastic. I just love it. I'm so stoked. Yep. You're gonna love it. I think everybody's gonna love this show. I think this show is gonna be really something special, something that Owen Sound hasn't seen in a long time.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Now, is there an age limit to this, or can anyone attend?
There's no profanity. But there are references to drug addiction and to self-harm. And there is one painting, one of my paintings is of a nude woman. So, just be advised, most teenagers should be able to handle something like that. But I certainly wouldn't take it kids to take it because they wouldn't be interested in it anyway.
Yeah.
It's a very
Okay.
adult.
Teenagers could go. Just tell them that there might be some sensitive material in there, and that's it. How much does it cost to go?
The tickets are set at $25 plus HST plus surcharges, so that comes to about $26-27.
Okay.
And they're available.
Yeah.
They're available on Ticket Pro. So we don't have the capability of printing up hard copy tickets in advance, which is a bit of a disappointment. But I mean that that is what it is. But if you go on the Ticket Pro website and then look up either Grey Roots or if you look up Butterfly Tongue, you should be able to pull up the show.
You could is this on the Rogers TV website too? You could put that on there too.
Definitely add that on there. Yeah.
Yeah. You could put that on there. How are you advertising it?
As it is right now, I can't afford. I can't afford to go to Bayshore Broadcasting and buy an $800 block of spots, so that's not happening. But it's going to be in Ramped. It's going to be on the Hub. It's already in Mosaic, the Mosaic Owen Sounder that's published by Marianne. It's going to go up on posters in various locations throughout the county. So I'm going to get that in all the usual poster spots in the area. So yeah. And through word of mouth, I'm really relying on word of mouth to get people to sort of buy into this.
A store. Well, no, we'll talk about that later. I was going to say something else. Okay, so that's good. So that's and funding. Who funds all these things? Trillium grant or something?
No, and that's the thing. I missed the deadline for any funding, and so
that's not good.
No, that's not good. So I was stuck to my own devices. So I managed to start a crowdfunding campaign, which has basically brought me over $1,000, which is a lot of what I need to get this show on the road. And then I'm banking on future gate receipts from the Fringe festivals. So it's kind of speculative. Something could go wrong. Who knows? If I get sick or something like that, things can fall apart. But I'm banking on that, and on banking on the gate receipts from the evening and things like that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds hopeful. I think that's you've got to. You're an artist. That's what you do.
Oh, showbiz is based on dreams.
Yeah, that's right. Dreams and hopes. Yeah. That's what they say. So tell me about what are your next plans? Or can you, other than this, books?
Oh, yeah, I could talk about that. Currently, I have 2 books coming out this year. It's ridiculous, like just how quickly this has all happened, how this has all taken place.
And this thing. So how do you have time?
I don't know. No, well, the books have already been written. That's the good thing about it. So they managed to make
some editing.
That's right. No, that's all done. Like they've managed to make their way through the publication process, and now it's just a matter of a release date. So that's great. So I'm just going to worry about the launch events for those. And I got the festival, that's taking up most of my time. And of course, that's going to be finished by November, or at least the bulk of the work is going to be finished by November. So I'm going to have some time afterwards. I haven't thought really about what I'm going to be doing in the post poet laureate period. I guess I'm just going to keep on writing. And I don't want to, but the important thing is to not interfere with the plans of the next poet laureate.
Yes.
The last thing I want to do is start stealing somebody else's thunder, because I think I'm getting a little overexposed in this town.
Yes. Well, no, I don't mean that. I mean what you said earlier. We have 5 minutes left. So tell me, do you have something to about?
Yes.
Is it perform? Is that what I say?
Yes, and if we have 5 minutes left, then it's absolutely perfect. You asked for something about women's strength and empowerment.
Yes.
Yes. Well, then I got something for you, and it's called Mom's Apple Pie, and it's one of my most requested pieces. And it goes like this. And this is for my mother, who taught me how to eat. No, not pointless bourgeois Martha Stewart conventions, which meant what sorbet fork to use and what wine pairs with Doritos, but how to take joy in food, especially pies. And not just any pies, but the best bloody pies ever made, the best bloody pies that ever could be made, the very platonic ideal of the apple pie, especially the crust. For if her pies were the best bloody pies ever made, then her crusts were the best bloody part of the best bloody pies ever made. And where did this come from, this skill in pie making? Well, some suspect that in the discombobulated Mobius strip that is the pie maker's genome, there's this little back alley in which the pie crust gene resides. But I doubt that. For to hear her tell it, she didn't start cooking till she was in her 20s, and I'll let that sink in. No, she first entered the kitchen on a dare, a challenge from a gainsaying cousin who gainsaid her, as did so many in her life, and who declared her to be incompetent in the kitchen because she burnt the soup, and she burnt the porridge, and she burnt the Ovaltine. So she said she'd bake a pie. I mean, after all, how hard could that be? Well, of course they laughed, for the first pie came out burnt. And of course they laughed, for the next pie came out burnt. And so on till the 11th, which was rather good, and the 12th, which was great. Oh, and after that, people came around because they knew. They knew that she had mastered the details. She now had pie crust perspective. And like many of us in her life, that gainsaying cousin began showing up often to eat eagerly of his humble pie. Well, cut now to her 69th year. We tried to gainsay cancer, though that little thing was perfecting itself within her like her perfecting her pies. And we gainsaid it till we were past alarm, because we were past exhaustion, because we were past resignation, because it was only chemo that had ever slowed her down, put a brake on her enthusiasm, checked that irrepressible energy, contained her power, or even put a dent in her plans. But she never gave up. And so on our last Christmas together, though we were but a tiny handful and she but a tiny handful, she went all out and showed what a woman can do now that she was beyond repair. She went out daring the gainsayers to gainsay her if they dare. And so she prepared for us, and all of this from scratch, a ham glazed with maple syrup, a turkey basted with great clots of rosemary butter, 2 types of dressing, 1 wild rice, 1 barley, 2 gravies, 1 giblet, 1 sherry, new white potatoes caramelized with the bird, sweet potatoes with nutmeg and allspice, pickles, aperitifs, wine, truffles, shortbread, brandy, Irish coffee, and the greatest pie she ever made. Thanks.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for joining us here, and I hope everyone enjoyed that poem. I have to say, my mother has dementia right now, and she's the matriarch of our family, and she's known for her apple pie. That made me cry. Join us again here on Rogers TV on Community Close-Up, and remember, it's your community, so take part. Thanks, Richard.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Lovely viewers, it's your host of On the Couch, Antoine El Hashim, reminding you to tune in for every episode of Season 9 of the longest running and most loved local queer talk show on Rogers TV. Check it out.
Calling all journalism students, Omni Television is once again awarding scholarships to qualified students pursuing a career in third language journalism.
I was overjoyed and honored to be chosen as a recipient of the Omni Scholarship. It has meant so much for funding my education and allowing me to dedicate more time to my studies.
Omni is home to a variety of locally produced current affairs programs and daily national newscasts, broadcast in 6 languages. To learn more about Omni scholarships, visit omnitv.ca/scholarships.